tools that they need. You solve crimes and you bring closure to victims when we hold people accountable, of course, but we have to do it constitutionally. Due process, after all, is still a right for every single person in this country. That's how we reduce crime. So we are being targeted because of who we are as a city more than anything else. We are a shining example of what happens when working people stand together. The last thing that Chicagoans want is someone from the outside of our city who doesn't know our city try to dictate and tell us what our city needs. As the mayor of this city, I can tell you that Chicagoans are not calling for a military occupation.
And once again, Brandon Johnson got everything completely wrong. Welcome back to the show. He just had a press conference the other day. He was sharing the stage with Governor Pritzker, and you just heard him say, Chicagoans don't want the National Guard. I mean, of course, he knows. He's the mayor, right? But I actually had an opportunity to interview Dr. Willie Wilson on my radio show on Friday, and this is what he had to say.
Okay, look, guys, appreciate you all coming out for this moment. I want to talk about a subject that is dear to my heart. After losing a 20-year-old son to gun violence, so it's definitely dear to my heart. And I'm here today to urge President Trump to deploy the National Guard in the city of Chicago, and if it's more than National Guard, then so be it.
You hear that right there from Dr. Willie Wilson. For those of you who don't know him, he actually tried to run for mayor in the last cycle. He wasn't successful for any number of reasons, but he's speaking as someone who actually lost a son to gun violence. He told that story on my radio show, and he's saying he wants the National Guard to come to Chicago. Now keep in mind, he's a resident of the city of Chicago. He's a business owner. He's a multimillionaire. He's saying Chicago is not getting the job done. Democrats are not getting the job done. So he wants to see another solution. And ultimately, that's the question we need to ask ourselves. Why are so many Democrats who have cities or who are governing in cities that are just overrun by crime, are they disagreeing with this tactic out of Washington, D.C. because they fundamentally disagree with it, or are they disagreeing with it because it's Donald Trump making the recommendation?
On jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
And of course, it wouldn't be on brand for Brandon Johnson if he didn't invoke race. Here's the question that I have for Brandon Johnson. Why is arresting criminals racist? The only reason for you to call it racist, it would be because the majority of people whom you perceive to be arrested would be people of color. But as a black man speaking as the mayor of the third largest city, to say that law enforcement is racist, they're not targeting people based on their race, they're targeting behavior. So if you want to see fewer black people get arrested, perhaps you need to introduce something into the culture that modifies the behavior, but not holding people accountable simply based on their race just allows the behavior to metastasize. As a close friend of mine said recently, no consequences, if you don't have any consequences, you're not going to modify your behavior. No consequences, no compliance.
When crime is down, the citizens is going to tell you that, because we are going to feel safe. We know we are out in the streets. We have our boots on the ground. We live in this. This is our experience. So when crime is down, we're going to tell you. You're going to see it. You're not going to be having 4 mass shootings in a span of 1 month. You're not going to have residents, senior citizens lying shot in the street.
I wanted to bring up that person. Her name is Danny Carter. She actually is someone who has attended a lot of the city hall, the city council meetings, and she has been unrelentingly vociferous in her criticism of the Johnson administration. So I didn't want you to think it was just some rich guy, Willie Wilson, who's saying this. This is an ordinary citizen. She has a YouTube page. You can go and find her there. But let me let you take a quick look at something that she said to the mayor at one of these city council meetings.
Now we back here for 150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all say y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this Negro right here first. Please come here first, because you know what? We're going to help you. We want a forensic
Ma'am, I would
audit.
ask that you, keep your, hold on a second, stop her time. Stop her time. Just.
Of course, Brandon Johnson, he did not like that. He does not like criticism. I can tell you on my radio show, he has appeared with every personality except for me, because I'm the only person that at my radio station who actually holds him accountable. He does not like criticism. If you disagree with him, you're automatically wrong. And the people of Chicago are tired of this. For him to say that no one in Chicago wants the National Guard is blatantly false.
To take Trump to court to protect these illegals. That's cool, because we about to make all of y'all aldermen famous. Y'all think this is how it's gonna rap? I think not. Flip Chicago red. We not playing.
So Danny C is always animated, and like I said, she does not take anything from Brandon Johnson. She is unabashedly Republican and wants to see this mayor get out of the city of Chicago. She does not want to see him be reelected, and she's a regular resident that's being impacted by his policy. Just to take this a step further, Brandon Johnson was recently on MSNBC on Morning Joe, and same thing. Joe Scarborough was just trying to ask him some very simple questions. He just cannot answer a question.
The country are calling for. This president and the federal government has literally declared war on poor people. I remember a time when presidents declared war on poverty. The federal government has a moral responsibility to do unto the least of these.
I hate when politicians try to drop Bible verses surreptitiously.
That's what we're doing in the city of Chicago.
So let me ask you, Mr. Mayor, those all sound like great programs. I'm curious, would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago?
Okay, very simple question. So let's keep track of this. All he asked him was, in addition to the things and the initiatives that you have, would you like to see some additional funding for 5,000 additional police officers? Sounds like a reasonable question.
Chicago, would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone. Of course, we want more detectives.
I know.
So again, Joe already said, I stipulate, all of those other programs that you're suggesting are great. What is your answer to additional police officers? He just refuses to answer the question.
I know it's not policing alone, but I know it's not policing alone. You've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that
that's not the question I asked. My question is...
That's not the question. Just answer the question. And again, where's this rule? Where's he pulling up this data that there's zero crime in areas that have affordable housing? I just cannot take this man seriously.
Just need a yes or a no. Do you believe the streets of Chicago would be safer if you got all of those other extraordinary programs put back into place, which do have a history of being successful?
If you look at Brandon Johnson through this entire exchange, he looks like a deer in the headlights. He is just so unprepared for this moment.
Successful. If that's complemented by having 5,000 more cops on the streets of Chicago.
I don't believe that we should narrow it down to just police officers, Joe, is what I'm saying. That is an antiquated approach. I'm saying we've invested in detectives.
Mr. Mayor, are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that all of these other social...
Even Mika can't take it, and she's usually someone who's pretty far left. But even she can't take Brandon Johnson's inability to just answer a simple question.
Programs are extraordinarily important. I just need a yes or a no, and then this will be the last thing I ask.
Why can't
if
you
you get all of those
question?
Other social programs that 800 million that New York City does, Los Angeles, other people do with great success, would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
Look, we are working hard to make sure that our police department is fully supported. I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer. What I'm saying is policing and affordable housing. It's policing and mental and behavioral health care services. It's policing and youth employment. It's a...
All right. He loves that youth employment program where he hires teenagers during the summer. Here's the problem. Those teenagers work for 3 or 4 months during the summer. What happens for the rest of the year? He's so invested into youth employment, but he's not talking about adult employment. You know that during the Depression, unemployment in the United States was as high as 25%. There are black neighborhoods in Chicago that have unemployment rates of 25% and greater today in 2025. If you were really concerned about the economic well-being of inner city urban Chicagoans, you'd be implementing policies that would make the city safe. You'd have stronger, more robust law and order initiatives so that businesses would return and adults could get jobs. That's what I'm most concerned about. Again, Brandon Johnson, just wrong man for the moment. He's definitely not going to be reelected. I think that he should just resign at this point. But I want to hear from you. I appreciate you hanging out with us. Catch us in the next one. This is The David Seaton Show.